What's up guys, DrGiggy on the mic for what is going to be a 2 parts video of NL400 4 tables. Alright, hello guys, this is DrGiggy for Blue Fire Poker. That is going to be my first video for Blue Fire Poker, and it's going to be for No Limit 400 tables, all deep tables because I love these deep tables. And that's pretty much it. I've been playing for like an hour now and ran up some stacks. Doing pretty well so far, hope it will continue. Hope I'll have some interesting spot to discuss about. I'll be recording the audio while I play. Okay, I'm pausing it right now guys, I just want to explain you what I'm going to do. I have been talking while playing, but I'm gonna pause it a couple of times and add some audio after the play, just to clarify some spots or just correct some small mistakes that I might have made or give some examples. So that's what I'll be doing, just don't be surprised and enjoy. I don't know if you guys like it better like that or if you want me to put the ends in a replayer or anything like that. Just tell me which way you prefer. I don't mind both, and I'm probably gonna do a bit of both while I'm doing videos. So my HUD just crashed. I'm trying to reopen it. Should be alright, I hope. That's it. Table 3 here, down left. I did not 2-barrel this because I think this villain too often has a low pocket pair. And you know, we've played a lot together right now, like tonight and a bit in the past. And I think he's gonna call that second barrel on that king way too often with his low pocket. I could go for 3-barrel, but then again, I'm not sure if he's folding his low pocket pairs to 3 barrels, because I know that he knows that I'm always gonna fire that king on the third and fourth. Okay, don't get me wrong guys here, that king was like the perfect second barrel card, but with the read that I had at that moment, with the flow of the game going, I've been playing for a nice amount of time. When I played this in, I was pretty sure that he was in check call mode and would check call down with a low pocket pair. He ended up having ace jack that he would have probably folded, but it was too risky in my opinion, because I thought he would call down with a low pocket pair, which is like the biggest part of his range. On the other end, with that said, that means that I'm going to value bet way more often, way more ends with that read against that guy. Let's say I have pocket 8s or pocket 9s, I'm going to fire that turn again. Pocket 8 or pocket 9s might be a spot normally that I would go for pot control here on turn and just try to induce a bluff on the river or whatever. But at that point, since he's, like I said, he's calling down with his low pocket pairs, because of that king that he knows that I'm gonna second barrel way too often, well, not too often, but almost every time, I'm gonna try and value bet some marginal hands, like I said, some middle pairs. Another thing important here is that I raise from the cutoff. With that said, when I raise from the cutoff or the button, I think he's even more inclined to try and call me down because he thinks that my range is bigger and he thinks that I'm gonna be second barreling air more often. If I had raised, let's say, from under the gun or under the gun +1, I probably would have second barreled that, because even if he knows that that king is a good second barrel, my range would have been more weight towards good hands, toward big pocket pairs, and toward some things like king queen or king jack, ace king, hands like that. Here, since I've raised from the cutoff and the button, that just changes the dynamic of the hand a lot against a good player that knows that. So I was too afraid to try and second barrel that. I'm really comfortable with my play here of just checking down. But like I said, with that read, you have to, if you're not second barreling such a card, you have to value bet way more often, way more marginal holdings. Second barrel, so normally it's a great card, second barrel, but it's like no longer a good card since he knows it way too well and he knows that I'm aggressive. So the HUD, yeah, the HUD just opened up. I'm playing a very aggressive style. I don't know if you guys know me, but I'm known to be playing very loose, like something like 32, 28, or something like that. These tables, I've got the 2 tables on the right, I've been playing in these numbers. 2 tables on the left, I've been playing a bit tighter, but probably just because of the hands I've received so far. So I'm gonna try to play even looser for that video, because I want to have spot to discuss about, and I want a lot of things to happen. I could sit there and play tight and try to play like ABC poker, but that would be boring as hell. So I'm gonna re-raise that jack enough. I know I don't always re-raise hands like that, but I just love re-raising late position opens, especially against player like you're an asset, because this guy, he's very tight. So far that's not working, but this guy is very tight, but it's like 12 tabling right now. And most of the time when you re-raise him, he's just going fold the hands, fold, fold, fold. He's not playing back a lot on the 3 bets, since he's playing way too many tables, in my opinion. He's still a good player, but pretty ABC, not too tough to read. Can pull some bluff sometime, but anyways. I thought that was good, but for a 3 bet, turned out that it was not. So I don't have anything in particular to talk about during this video. I'll just play my hands and talk about them. I'll probably do a lot more of like conceptual videos in the next video, but I wanted a standard video to start with, just because I think people are interested in some of those. I'll try to make it last like 45 minutes. So hey, second on the button, definitely raising that on table 4. Is to suit here. One of the best things about these deep tables is that there's no short stacks, because I'm not excellent against short stacks. I think I'm a winner against them, but I've never really sat down and done calculations to beat them. I think that you should all guys do, and I'll do it someday, but someday. Later. So at the tables, table 4 is really fishy. We have only 1 regular, Turtlelicious. Other guys are a bunch of no names with random buy-in amounts. So I assume that they're fishies. The other tables, a lot more regular. Table 2, we have Nick Stam, who's not bad. Will check raise, Turtlelicious, Pure Morning, and same guys a lot on the other table. I'm not gonna talk about them right now, about my reads on them. I'm gonna wait until I have some hands to play against them. Ace 4 suit, that's good enough for a 3 bet. Like I said, I'm not 3 betting that always, but I want some action, and I want some tough spot to discuss about, so I think it's good. It's still good to 3 bet these type of hands from time to time. So. Nothing happening right now, pretty boring. Trying to make this interesting. NL400 is like my bread and butter game. I've been playing almost 1 million hands there. I never get tired, because people are just always ready to give you their monies. So easy. Here I've c-bet that flush draw. Here I'm gonna 3-bet for sure. Here I've c-bet that flush draw, and I turn a 3. I think that my best plan here is to check, because if I bet, he's not folding any pair, I think, due to his amount of stack. So I'm gonna get all in anyways, but if I check, it might give him a chance to try a weird bluff with something like Jack 9 or Jack 8 or something like that, and since I just turn a pair of 3s, I'm now leading against all non-pair hands, plus I have a lot of equity with my flush draw, so I'm never folding that. So that's it. Let's hope that he tried a weird bluff. That's it. Okay, here, the ace 3, and guys, if you took note of what I said, if you're observant, I was talking about hands like Jack 9, Jack 8 that I was now beating with my pair of 3s, and you might be thinking, well, he was already beating these hands. What does a 3 change here? Well, it makes me beat a lot of other hands too, like pocket deuce in the example, but also ace 8, ace 9, or maybe some weird ace jack, ace queen that the guy might have. So I think the 3 here was just enough for me to check call the end. If the turn was, let's say, 4, I would have probably just bet the pot, or whatever amount I might have thought that would have given me the most folding equity as a semi-bluff. But here with that 3, I think that was just barely enough for me to try and check down and have him do something stupid like with pocket deuce or ace 9, ace 8, some hands that I was not beating before 3. If I bet that turn, he probably would have just folded. I think checking that turn, since I've turned a pair of 3s, was the better play. Since I'm going all in anyways, if he has a pair of 10s or something like that, or any pair above that, like a pair of 6 or 7, I think was there. Here I'm gonna c-bet because this guy just calls any opening I'm doing while he's in position. So I'm just ready to c-bet almost any flops because he's really passive and will just give up when he doesn't flop anything. Here he calls. Lots of draws, but I can't really value bet the turn, like value bluff bet the turn thing I will do with something like ace queen, something like that there. I will bet the turn with ace queen, because if he calls, there's so many draws that I think it would be good to bet the turn, because like I said, there are a lot of draws, and when he calls and the draw misses on the river, I can check call a bet very often, very profitably, because he's gonna have that busted draw. But with queen 9, don't think I can do that. You can have a flush draw with a king eye or something like that. So it just sucks to keep playing that queen 9. Here I'm heads up. I'm just gonna leave because I want to do a 6-max video, and I'm not that good at heads up. Heads up probably is the weakest link of my game. I'll try working that, but right now I'm more concentrating on heads up, on 6-max, sorry. So I'm just gonna leave. Normally I play almost everyone heads up, while when tables just break like that, because I want to practice heads up, and I think that's a good thing for you guys to do. When tables break and it's like you in a semi-good regular that you think you have a small edge against him, if you're not playing too many tables, you should try and play him just to learn your heads up game, just to work on it. Or just play heads up games sometimes, because there are a lot of important skills in heads up that you can translate to 6-max, like aggressions and something like that. Actually, in my opinion, the most important skill that heads up brings you is the ability to think about the hands you're playing, because in heads up, you have to think every single time. You can't play according to a system that you have developed, which is a big leak in most of the small stakes and mid stakes mediocre regulars. They play, like I said, according to a system that they've learned on forums or reading hands or books or whatever, and they never really think about why they're doing such things, and they don't even try to notice leaks in other players' games, so they don't take advantage of that. When you play heads up, you have to try and read the opponent in front of you and try to adjust to his leaks, like I said, or to some mistakes he might be doing frequently. So when you do that to heads up, you can translate that to 6-max as well. And in my videos, guys, that's a thing that I'm gonna insist a lot on, is to try and think while you play. I'm gonna try to make you think about new things that you might not think about, being I'm targeting here small stakes regulars or people like that play on autopilot according to a system. So I'm gonna try focus. Guys, when you play, try to think. If you're playing too many tables, just drop down, play for 1 week or 2, play just like 2 or 3 tables, and think about every single hand by yourself. You're gonna discover a lot of things. So I'm gonna expand more on that later and in other videos as well. It's important to understand how heads up game works, at least a little bit. Here I'm gonna call with the implied odds he's giving me. Might be doing this with aces or anything. I'm just gonna call, see what happens. probably just gonna check fold, but if I think he's doing that a lot with aces, it's so great, because I have infinity implied odds. But I missed the flop. Here I'm gonna bet that open-ended I just turned. And I'm probably gonna bet again because of a lot of draws have been missed. And I think he's betting. He never has jack, that's for sure. I don't know why he's betting right now. Because like I said, never has jack. Just gonna raise him. Actually here, the raise I'm making, I'm pretty much putting him on a misdraw. Something like a naked 8 or naked 4. That's not trying to get the pot away from me, because with the line he has taken during the hand, I don't see any hand that he's value betting on the river. The only hands he might play like that, in my opinion, were some two pairs, 10-5, 10-6, or 10-7. Apart from that, he's not gonna value bet a naked 10 on the river, and there are a million busted draws, so he's gonna have a busted draw like 80% of the time here. So I'm really comfortable with my play of raising here as a bluff. Never has a jack, never has a strike. Nah, I think so. Aces, huh? Didn't see that coming. He limped and checked 2 times. That screwed me. Played that pretty weird, but hey, I thought he couldn't have it big end because it checked the turn second time around. After limping, check. Normally I'll just be checking the turn behind again, so his check is pretty bad. But he decided to do that with aces this time. He had me there. I have no problem with that. He'll be losing money in no time playing his aces like that. Pretty sure. Never saw this guy before, the professor. Just gonna take a note. Can name from the small blind in blind battles. That's it. 7-9 of suit on the cutoff. I'm gonna open that since I'm too fast, playing pretty tight on the button right now, and I'm ready to. When we have guys, when I have a button who's playing pretty tight and no short stack in the blinds or whatever, I'm ready to open a lot of things from the cutoff and the button. I'm really loose on cutoff and button, because at these stakes people don't have a clue of how to play out of position, so you just can raise your buttons and cutoff throughout c-bets, second barrel, third barrels, and it's so easy to exploit them, exploit their weak out of position. People are normally just check call, check fold when they're on it. They're never dunk leading profitably, and they're never like check raise bluffing. Some guys do it, but not a lot of them. Here I raise pocket 2s, I raise my pockets from any position, anytime. Table 3, so I raise pocket 2 deuce, and that guy in 19-6 under the gun +1 is re-raising me. So I have like all the reasons the words think that he has a big pair. So I'm just gonna call and try to set mine him. Should be the good thing to do. I missed, too bad. We had deep enough stacks for me to set mine him. Hit a professor with my 4-5 suit. I think I'm gonna take a flop. In position, we're a bit deeper than 100 big blinds, and he made his 3-bet way too small, so I think he's giving me odds to call that. And that's what I'm gonna do. So I flop a flush draw. Not raising that, because he's never folding a king, and the board is pretty dry, so it would be stupid to just raise. And if I'm raising, I'm having exactly what I'm representing, which means draw on this board. I'm having draw way too often, and he's not folding any king or something like that. So I'm just gonna call and try to hit. So I miss, but he checks the turn. With so many draws out there, I don't know what thing about that. Probably has ace, jack, ace, queen, something like that. Because I think he's betting again a king on the turn like always, and I think he's not betting like jacks or queens. Okay, here guys, my 4-5 hand. First, if you guys are observant, you're gonna remark that I'm not representing much here, and you are right. I'm the only plausible hand that I can have is like a 3, but then again, I'm not calling it. He's not gonna assume that I'm calling a 3-bet with a 3 when I'm under the gun in his big blind, so we exclude the 3. They like the only hand I can have here is king queen. But I'm not afraid of that against that guy, because we've seen earlier that that guy sucks pretty hard. He seems like a very bad player. So he's not gonna try and put me on a hand. He's just gonna be afraid of the bet, actually. Against a great player, I would probably not bet that turn, because it's way too risky against a very good aggressive opponent that he might check raise me here all in his bluff with something like ace queen or ace jack, like I said, or that he would check call with jacks or queens or some things like that, because he knows I'm not representing much here. Given the fact that the guy doesn't even try to read my hand, I don't mind betting and trying to bluff him out of the pot. On the flop, so he probably has 2 overs and get 1 over and a gut shot, something like that, or he turned the full house, which would leave me completely dead, so it's worth nothing if he turned the full house to try and spike a diamond. That would just cost me money, so I'm just gonna bet. Okay, another interesting thing about the 4-5 hand, guys, is that I said that I'm assuming he's not checking aces or ace king on that turn, and that's pretty much right. Like, nobody's ever checking that on such a drawy board. But let's say the board is king 10 3 rainbow, so there are a lot less draws a lot less draws on the board, sorry. I think that exact player is not checking aces or ace king. That kind of player, actually, that kind of bad player. You're gonna say, hey, he's been tricky earlier with his aces when he limps from the small blind, but in my opinion, take notes of that guy. Such fishes, such weird players that are not thinking, are not gonna try and get tricky in big pots, especially in big 3-bet pots. They're just gonna try and bet for value and win the end as soon as possible because they're just afraid of losing such a big pot. That's pretty much how 90% of these players think. Let's say, like I said, the board is king 10 3 rainbow, and instead of that bad player, we're against a good regular and he checks. We can't assume that he's not having aces or ace king because he's gonna check that kind of hand a lot to try and trap me. But that guy, I think that's an important thing to note, guys. Even though he's been tricky earlier, I think he's never gonna get tricky in such a spot because bad players never get tricky in 3-bet pots, pretty much. So just to let you know, that's an important read when you don't have any other read on a bad player because you're not playing often against them. That's a pretty important thing to assume. That's what I'm personally assuming most of the time. Here I'm calling position again on 3-bet. On table 2 and I flop a set. That's a great result. I know that lol check raise is always ready to put out a bluff against me. We've tangled a lot with each other and we're bluffing each other back and forth a lot of time. I think he's gonna try to bluff me a lot. So I don't see why I would raise this. I'll just let him bet every street. That's a bad turn card because I could have the clubs, but I'm just gonna bet it for value and protection. But like I said, on that type of board, if he has an overpair, I think he's betting every street for value anyways. Here I'm gonna just insta shove so I look like a bluff. I think it looks more bluffy to just insta shove, especially against him. But like I said, if he has an overpair, we're going all in probably on the turn anyway. And if he has something like ace king, ace queen, by calling the flop, I'm giving him a chance to catch something or to try a 2 or 3 barrel bluff me, like I know he can do. Fold there, too bad. Maybe I could have waited before shoving, but I thought that insta shoving would look way more bluffy and would look like a guy who's trying to represent clubs. Don't know what he had on that type of board. Probably had something like, I don't know what ace queen looked like, ace of clubs or something like that. Probably the ace of clubs, ace anything of clubs actually, or a mid pocket pair like 9 or 8, or jacks or queens with 1 club. And he decided that it was no longer good in the river, and I'm not bluffing this, but good full for him. So the 4-5 suited against the professor last time, like I said, according to his range, like I said, I don't think he has jacks or queen too often. I think he's checking those on the flop. And I don't think he has a king like ace king or aces ever, because he would bet again because of the draws. So he has a full house or nothing. So it's worth nothing to try and catch a diamond. Would be just stupid, because if I catch a diamond and he has a full house, it's just gonna cost me money, and if he has nothing, well, I'm not doing anything, I'm not doing any money. So I just tried and bluff, and if he called the turn, I probably would have fired a river again. Or probably not, no, forget it, I wouldn't have fired a river, because like I said, he would have had probably like a full house that he was still playing, and you wouldn't have fold with all these busted draws on the river if the draw bust. So it would have been stupid, forget what I said. So. Here's limping again, small blind, I'm just gonna raise. See if it's limping again with aces. We'll see. Here against Pereiro, that's kind of fish, playing 35-16, never saw him before. Normally I'm folding ace-9 suit, but here I'm gonna call it. Try to flop something, and I miss. Pair of fives on the flop, I'm certainly not betting that, because I have showdown value, and I don't want to get check rate. Okay, here actually guys, the jack 5 hand, I should have called the turn, probably, because I have an open-ended, and I have a pair, and the guy might be bluffing, but I was distracted talking, so I didn't see my open-ended straight draw. That gives me a lot of equity, so that's a small mistake. I should have probably called that turn. I folded, that's not a big mistake, just a small one, just to let you know that I just didn't see that open-ended. His bluff out of the best hand. On table 3, just insta check back the flop, and insta call the turn. Probably has not much, just hope he's folding, because at the speed he's playing the hand, forget it. He had top pair, that was in his range too. But on table 3 here, the ace-9 end, I base my river play a lot on the speed he was playing the hand, like I said, on that timing tell. Without that timing tell, I probably wouldn't have rebet the river, because it's too risky that he has something like top pair or something like that, or a middle pair that he was spot controlling. But on that river, I think it wasn't, since he called so fast, I think he has something like ace-jack, ace-queen, or ace-king with the jack, queen, or king of clubs pretty often, that I want to make him fold, and he might have an under pair as well with clubs, or some sort of, I say after that like king-jack with a club or something like that, but that's stupid. I didn't think that I'm already beating these ends. So it's a pretty close play, but I think with the timing tell that I had, that he was folding like maybe 80%, not 80, but maybe 70% of the time on that river. That's why I made that bet. It ended up being bad, but I rely a lot on my reads and my timing tell reads, so I'm comfortable betting that river. But I thought a guy like that would bet top pair on the flop, but forget it. But like I said, the speed is, he called the turn most of the time when he acts so fast. Just want to showdown or want to see the next card, so I was putting him on something like, I don't know, king-jack with king of clubs, something like that, with just a high club. That's a very nice tell, people calling way too fast, or checking back way too fast, or most of the time just weak or under us. That's a well-known tell that isn't very reliable against good people, because normally try and avoid to do these tells, but against random guys like that Spurrio guy, well, it's a good tell to know. Yeah, guys, 61-17, another big fish. I'm just gonna try and check down the end. I think my size is good often enough, so I don't really have to c-bet the flop, sorry. Here I'm gonna bet just for prediction purpose and for value, because a lot of straight draws and side draws made on turn, something like jack 10, queen 10, something like that, certainly gonna call my turn bet. So he called pretty fast, and then he's leading the river, so I have to put him on a hand there. Like I said, his most probable holdings might be a flush draw missed, something like jack 10, queen 10 missed, I don't see any king in his range. Only kings that are out there are like king 6 or king 7. He could have anything pre-flop anyways. But king 6 or king 7 are out there. But you would probably just check the river again, because that's what people do when they hit. That's what these fish do normally. So I'm just gonna call and hope he has one of these busted draws. 7-10, like I said, I didn't mention 7-10, but definitely was in his range of busted draws. So that was a pretty nice hand. I just bet the turn. Oh, and he's calling me a douche. Just thank him. Thank you. My friend. I always try to be nice with these guys. And like I was saying, I just bet the turn because a lot of draws appeared, and if he had something like a pair, he probably would have bet the turn himself, just to protect himself from the draws. Because that's woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo, happy hour. That's fun, happy hour. I love happy hour. Yep, to protect himself from the draws. So my guess is that he didn't have a pair, so I would just value betting my SI and protecting it. I called Queen 10 on the big blind and flopped top 2, but didn't get any action. Too bad. No, I'm pretty excited since it's happy hour. Can't wait to double my folded points. Turtlicious here. I think I'm gonna 3-bet him just for entertainment purpose. Don't do that if you're not. Well, don't do that too often, because this deep out of position, it's normally just best to keep it tight from the blinds. A lot of 3-bet with suited connectors, something like that from time to time. But I wanted action, I wanted hands to speak about. But I don't do that often, don't abuse of this play, because it's just, well, not so good. Especially this deep. At 100 big blinds deep, I don't mind that much. But the guy in position is gonna give you so much problems after the flop. And he's gonna call way too often pre-flop as well and give you trouble after the flop, since he has position. Here's 7-8-2 in this flop. I'm gonna c-bet, but I'm not gonna 2-barrel because there are so many draws, and I think he knows that I'm gonna 2-barrel way too often with a draw, and he's not even folding it. Then I'm not making him fold anything. 2-barreling would just be bad, I think. But I think I have to bet this river. I'm gonna bet this river, yeah. Because I could have a king any day. And draws bust, he could have a bust draw. And he's probably folding a 10 now, maybe not a queen. And he's certainly folding a mid-pocket pair, something like 7 or 8 that he would have called on the flop. Which is stupid, in my opinion, because with his 7 or 8, he's betting as many things as with his queen, because I can't have ace queen because I bet the turn with ace queen, so I'm never value betting a queen or something lower than that. I bet the turn with any queen, anything, so I never have a queen. I'm only value betting like a river straight or any king, and I'm bluffing a lot there. So if he folded like 7 or 8, I think that's a bad fold. He should have called there. But I pretty much knew that he would fold his end, and he would have called with a queen, which is the funny thing, because people just don't think enough. He's like, queen beats a lot of things, I'm gonna call. And that's pretty much it. Okay, here actually, guys, what I'm trying to explain on my 7-8 bluff end is that first, he has to realize that he's beating as many things with, let's say, queen jack than with pocket 7s. because I'm not betting a mediocre end on that river like ever, like a 10 or pocket 9, pocket 8. I have enough equity on these ends just to check it. And the only ends I'm value betting here, I'm pretty much never have a queen because I'm betting queens on the turn. The only ends I'm value betting are ace-jack and a king. And I'm not raising that many kings from the small blind pre-flop. So it just reduced a couple of ends. And the other thing is, that is a scare card. And I'm gonna fire that scare card with air like ever. So given these two things, that I have air way too often because that's a scare card, and I don't have the scare card very often because it's not really in my range. Well, it is in my range, but it's a very small portion of my range given how the hand has been played. Then I'm not value betting anything else. He has to call with any pair here. I made the bluff, even if I knew that, because I thought that that guy wouldn't take time to analyze the end the way I just did it. He would, if he had a small pocket pair, he would just think, hey, king now beats me, everything beats me, and he just click the fold button here. That's what I thought, that's what I was assuming. I wouldn't make that river bluff against a great player, because he'd be calling me down way too often. If the river was, let's say, an ace, ace of spades, let's say, I'd make a bluff more often than with a king against a great player, because I'm now representing way more hands, because I'm raising every single ace from the small blind, so I can now have pretty much any ace. But with the king, I don't have king-queen, because I'd be betting that on turn. I'm reduced to like king-jack, and I might be rebetting it on the turn as a semi-bluff, king-10, and king-9, king-8, and after that, I'm not raising like king-4, king-5, king-6 from the small blind often enough. So my range is so small, my value betting range is so small here, and I'm betting so often with here, given the fact that's a scare card, that he has to call with every single pair. If you're that guy here, call with a pair, especially against an aggressive opponent like me. They don't think too far. The professor didn't reload, which shows me that he's probably a fish. Probably a fish. Here I would three bet very often pre-flop with king queen offsuit in position against a bad player, but since he only has $220 in front of him, I think it's pretty bad to three bet him, because if he's shoving, you're almost priced in. If he's shoving like middle pair or something like that, and I'd have to call, and it would just suck, since he has ace queen or ace king so often. So I was gonna play in position, but forget it. The deeper I am, actually, the more I tend to 3-bet people in position, because it's just unplayable. 3-bet pot, deep, out of position are unplayable, unless you're really good and unless you have a very good 4-bet bluff frequency. But these guys at these stakes, they're not bad, but that pretty much a generalized league. Nobody really knows how to play 3-bet pot out of position deep. So you just 3-bet people in position with any suited hand, any whatever, any 7 gapper or something like that, and bet the flop, bet the turn, and you're gonna make money, believe me. I'm trying to have a couple of examples until the end of that vid. Here, Jack 6 on the button, I would have raised if that fish I had like full buy-in, but at $46, I don't think I can make him full, so that's just stupid. Here, with my 9, I'm just gonna call. Like I said, I'm 3-betting a lot in position, but pocket 9 just too great of a hand to play. I'm losing too much value when I'm 3-betting it, in my opinion. I might 3-bet sometimes, but I prefer taking a flop and playing it post flop. So flop comes 10-10-7, guy checks. Probably doesn't have a big pair, but a lot of the result there, you might check call something like a 7 or a middle pair like 8, 6ers or something like that, so I'm just gonna value bet here. And he fold. He could have check called something like aces, kings, or queens, because we're really deep, and he might be pot controlling, and like balancing his range of check calling or something like that. I know that this guy, from what I've seen, I've just played within 2 days, but from what I've seen, I think he's good enough to actually sometimes check call hands like that and not always bet his aces, always bet a pair on this board. So I would have been pretty cautious and probably would have just checked back the turn in that spot. Here, the professor raised, we're 4 on the flop, and I'm too fast just leading like half the pot. I don't really know what to think about that. Probably yes. I don't know, probably like either in like me, like Queen Jack or 10 Queen or something like that, or King Queen or King Jack and that wants to know where it's at. Don't think I can call profitably there. I almost think, but I don't think he has like a set often enough for me to call there. And I don't think I will be able to make him fold a king. So if he checks the turn, I'm not sure where he's at, if he has a king or not, and if I have to bet or not. So I'm not sure of his hand. So when you don't have a good read against someone, it's usually not a good idea to try and float him with gut shots and some things like that. Try to do these things when you're pretty sure of what the other guy's doing with every end in his range. Here, pretty much same example as sooner, ace-9. I think it will just be stupid to c-bet that because he's never folding a pair, and I have ace-high. So I'm just gonna try and check that down to showdown. Here I'm 3-betting 10-8 suit against cutoff open any day. He's betting $4 now, so I have a gut shot and 2 over, and I'm curious. I might even call a river bet because he. Well. There's a flush draw that miss on the turn as well as a 7 for an open. 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 for an open head. Straight draw. So I think I'm gonna call way too many draws missed there. He might have a 6 that he's spotting, but 5. He owned me pretty bad there. He value bet me with his 5 to the pot. I would have thought that he wouldn't have bent the pot with such a hand. But pair 5 would have been more afraid or of I don't know what, but people just don't bet the pot usually with these type of hands. So he just owned me pretty bad there. But I think it's still a great call because way too many draws missed and he only bet like $4 on the turn. And flush draw missed and the 7 missed too. So pretty much it. I don't mind making that call all day long. Here guys, actually the funny thing about the end that I'm talking about, my call with ace-high, is that I'm even more comfortable making the call against a random guy. I never saw this guy before at the tables, and I tend to assume that a guy that I've never seen before at the limit that I'm playing pretty much every day, well, he's probably a bad player. So like I said, if a regular did that to me, I'd feel pretty bad, because I know I would have just wasted money because he would have just owned me. But against a bad player, the thing is, he was probably just pushing buttons, clicking random buttons, and he happened to have it that time. He didn't even read me that I'd call with ace-high. So he's gonna have air often enough, busted draw, like I said, that I don't mind losing money that time against this 5. Especially when he's spotting the river, he has a missed draw so often. Here I'm flopping middle pair against guy playing 27-9, 1.5. Don't think I have some value. The best thing is against such a guy, like I was going to say, against such a guy who's playing so tight, I don't think he's ever check raising me as a bluff. So I'm pretty comfortable just betting the flop to make him pay for his flush draws or getting value from. Okay, here guys, the ace-8 and on table 4. I probably should have called. I probably just overthought the end a bit because I was talking and didn't concentrate on the fact that he check min raised me first and I have only to call 22 and he might do it with a flush draw because there's a flush draw on the board. So I probably should have called, and he did it pretty quick too, which is normally a sign of weakness. If he check raised me like 3.5 times, it's an insta fold, but I didn't even remark the fact that he checked min raised me, so just a small mistake. That's not a big mistake, actually, because calling might cost me money later in the hand, but I think it's a small mistake given the circumstances to fold that ace-8. 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, and getting some protection from ends like 9 or from ends like, I don't know, Queen Jack, something like that, 2 over 2 my pair. Since he's never check raising as a bluff, I think that's my read. My read might be wrong, but when you have that read, that the guy's never check raising as a bluff, you can just value bet pretty much anything in position. Value bet your low pairs and things like that, because it's not dangerous to get bluffed out of the way of the best end. And if he had called and the turn would have been, let's say, 10, I would have tried to check down the end for sure, as a regular fashion style way. That's it. Here I have middle pair. Couple of draws it just completed, like if he had a open head with 8-9 or a gut shot with 9-10, something like that, he just hit. I don't think he's folding. He's not folding a lot. He's not folding anything actually that I'm not beating right now. So I'm just gonna check and try to hit the nuts. The nuts, and he's betting right into my nuts. So I'm just gonna raise. I had a good draw on turn with showdown value as well, so clearly was a check back. I might have raised a little more since 9 makes a straight, but he might, no. I think that's the right amount. I think he's gonna call with 9, probably fold anything else. But I think that's just the right amount to make him call with that 9 or with 2 pairs, because he'd be curious. But that's another guy. There are a lot of unknowns right now because we're Saturday night, so people suck Saturday night. Not many regulars. Against an unknown, I just tend to value bet a bit bigger than I would do against regular, against people that actually knows how to read ends. What I'm explaining here on table 2 on my flush hand is that against a good player, I'm not gonna be raising like 3.5 times his bet. Because when I'm raising that big, I have a flush every single time. I'm not valuing any other end, maybe Jack 9 for the higher straight, but I'm not valuing any other end than a flush that big. I'm gonna make it that big if I have some reason to think that he'll be thinking that I might be bluffing the flush, but normally he's just gonna snap fold his 9 if he knows how to play, because his 9 has now become a bluff catcher in that spot. But against a bad player, I don't mind raising it bigger, because he's not gonna think about all these things. All he's gonna think is, hey, I have a straight, and I click the giant call button. So I made it a little bit bigger, because I think that guy is not that good, but you have to be aware that you have to vary your raise sizing depending on who you are facing in such a situation. So that's pretty much it, guys. That is going to be a 2-part video, so that's gonna end the first part of the video. I'm gonna take back exactly at that spot for the second video. So goodbye, and I hope you enjoyed that first video.